social isolation that we have been living with the last couple of years. To that end, I've developed the Success in Aging Essentials box, which can be mailed straight to your loved ones or to you for wonderful products that I have curated just for our aging population, which includes all seniors, the disabled, veterans, and the widowed. And I invite you to go to successinaging.com and order yours or your loved ones today. Now, let's get to our fabulous guest. Mary, would you please introduce the wonderful Joe Dorando?
Of course. And of course, I don't have his bio standing in front of me because we had him on back in December. And I'm sure everyone remembers how wonderful he is, but I apologize for not having his bio. So, Joe, we'd like to ask you to introduce yourself a little bit because we're going to be focusing today on a program that Wounded Eagle focuses on, which is art. And so I want you to tell a little bit about your Wounded Eagle, and then again today we're really focusing on the art program. So Joe, please introduce yourself. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to pop up all your words of wisdom. But if you're just watching this today live, we'd love for you to put your comments in the chat, and then we will call you out and answer your questions live. And if you are watching this in the replay, we will circle back and answer any questions you might have. So thank you so much again for being on the Success in Aging show, where DIES shares the experts in their industry, which today is Joe Dorando. So welcome, Joe. Again, let us know how you are and center yourself, and I'll be down below listening.
Thanks, Mary. Oh, Joe, it's so good to have you on the show. Yes, you have a wonderful resume, which I want everyone to hear. So give us the bio of Joe Dorando, the air boss.
Well, I'm the executive chief or the chief executive director of Wounded Eagle. I've been such since I founded it back in 2015.
Wonderful.
We've established ourselves as being the primary source for disabled and wounded veterans to come in and be able to be taught how to fly drones, not only just commercially, but as what we call Adaptive Recreational Therapy or our art program.
Okay.
And it's really just an amazing thing to be able to watch and be able to have this ability to discover a new therapy treatment, so to speak, that hopefully one day will be recognized by the medical industry as being a valued source of opportunity. I mean, flying a drone by itself is a wonder, but to be able to establish, say, greater synaptic nerves and plasticity of the brain for people suffering from neurologic disorders,
yes,
it's all beneficial. And you have people that are very cooperative in their treatment. They're going to love to be able to go out there and fly in the fashion that we do.
You know, I want all my listeners to know that Joe, and he is the air boss. I've called him the drone guy for about a year because Joe has this amazing program of turning wounded veterans' wheelchair seats into pilot seats by teaching them how to use drones in order to get a job. And Joe, before we get into the Adaptive Recreational Therapy program that you have created and are proliferating throughout at least the Western United States. I'm looking forward to being national as soon as possible. I'd like you to tell my audience how you came up with this idea and why. You came up with it out of a great love. You are a veteran and you're a wonderful retired police officer. Please give us the short 411 on how you came to even being in this place.
Well, let's first correct the record. I was never a police officer. I was fortunate, though, enough to be able to work with the El Monte Police Department with a great group of chiefs and great set of officers. And I was basically their IT guy and their communication guy. I'm the one who handled all the wiring and made them look good and showed them how software works and everything else. But it was a fabulous time, and I'd spent 13 years with El Monte Police Department, and the best 13 years I've ever had. Wonderful. And when I retired, I decided I wanted to give my time to those who are most deserving, rather than going back and finding some other job to fill my interest. And I decided that disabled veterans were our best resource, that they deserve the most, because they're the ones who were out there on the bleeding edge of the spear.
That's right.
And they're not the same person who walked in, and they deserve so much more than what we're giving them. So I want to introduce them to the joy of flight and enable them to be able to have that opportunity to learn how to fly and be able to do something with their life and not just be stuck in working in a cubicle playing hedgehog every now and then to see who walked into your office space.
Well, I think that your all of your experience and expertise as an IT guy for a police department, and I do believe that you introduced the idea of a drone force to them, if I remember correctly.
Yes, they kind of poo-pooed the idea, but sadly it was just because it was so early in the development of drones that it was still to them just a toy. They didn't realize the capabilities that it could bring. The how can I say it? It would be a game enhancement for them.
Yes,
but they just didn't see it that way. I told them that stuff is going to evolve, but it would be a force multiplier. They just didn't see it. We already had an Air 44, and I think our pilots were a little miffed that I would suggest something that might threaten their airtime. God forbid they're going to drive their Robinson 44 around.
Wow.
Can't have that. But anyway, so now they have a drone program they're developing.
Of course they do. Of course they do with your vision. That's right. So in capturing my audience's imaginations, because you and I both, I've talked to you enough to let my listeners know that there are jobs for drone pilots in so many industries out there, and you want to see the veterans get those jobs. Can you accentuate some of those jobs right now or the industries that they're in?
Well, some of the easier ones would be getting involved in doing real estate, for instance. If you've looked at Zillow, for instance, or Realtor.com, you'll notice that they have a lot of aerial imagery. And in Los Angeles, it's not uncommon to get $250 a house to capture that aerial imagery, do a walkthrough with your camera, take some nice photos, and presto, you maybe knock out a house, 2 houses a day. You're doing pretty good. But that's just a low-hanging fruit. If you want to get more sophisticated, you get into, say, what's called orthomosaic photogrammetry, which took me about 2 to 3 weeks before I could roll it off my tongue without stuttering.
Very good.
Be that as it may, orthomosaic photogrammetry is taking hundreds of photos of different portions of an area, and then being able to stitch them all together, overlapping and side-lapping, and making one large orthomosaic image, where you can say have 100 acres on this one image that you could say the size of a postage stamp, but zoom in, and go all the way down to a broken tile on a roof, which is pretty impressive on a Spanish tile roof, because there you're looking at, say, roofing inspections or home inspections, things of that nature. The insurance company loves that stuff because you're not setting a person up on a roof where they could possibly fall off and hurt themselves.
Yes.
The whole purpose of drones is to take care of the dull, dirty, and dangerous jobs that face people and get them out of those situations and get them into something where they can be more useful and in less danger. And drones can do that. I mean, you have a mast on your sailboat and you've got some problem up at the top of the rigging and you can't climb up there. Oh, gee, let's send a drone up and look at it really closely and we can see exactly what's going on and see what we need to do to remedy this. But there's also production. Yeah, and there's conservation that you can get into. They use drones for counting salmon inside a creek, because as this thing's flying over, the salmon isn't going to freak out or anything, and they're able to count how many salmon are in that stream.
Counting salmon in a creek. That's just amazing. You can count grapes on the vine too, can't you?
There's so many things. I mean, even for lifeguard. Currently, I'm here in Pensacola, Florida, and I'm going to be joining up with the Civil Air Patrol, and I'm going to help bring their drone services online so that we're prepared for the next storm season that's supposed to come in June. And it doesn't seem like there's a lot of drone expertise out here, which is great for me, but I've got to get these people up to speed on how this stuff operates so we can be effective and useful in the time of an emergency.
I think that's fabulous. You know, in SoCal, where we have some pretty good marine aquariums, the whole idea of Shark Week is fun if you're in a safe aquarium. But if you're out on the water in Florida or anywhere else that sharks tend to want to visit, drones would be so great to help alert people and to keep people safer.
Oh, especially for the lifeguards, because now they can monitor the coastline without having a boat go through, and you'll get a much better area of visual observation using a drone looking straight down and covering the entire bay, for instance, and know if there's any potential hazards encroaching in their area.
That's fabulous. And I want to move into this program that you're talking about, because I know you're pretty excited about it. And it's the ART program, Adaptive Recreational Therapy. Tell us about that and how you use it with your wounded warriors, your veterans.
Well, originally, I was watching these veterans giving this recreational therapy, as they called it, tying fishing flies to go up to the Sierras and play and go up there and have a good time on the stream and such, which is really wonderful for the couple or so times that you might have the opportunity to do that in a year.
Yeah.
But what we do, well, let me start. What we train them to do is we fly what's called first person view, or FPV.
Okay.
And what that is you put on a set of goggles that have little monitors inside with an antenna and receiver hooked up to it, and it's connected to the nose camera on the drone. And from there, you're flying the drone through that nose camera.
Wow. Wow.
And if you watch people like Nurk, for instance, or Mr. Steele, or the guys at Rotor Riot, they do some phenomenal air stunts with what their drones are, as far as flying around diving buildings and shooting towers and just doing all these crazy acrobatic work and flying between branches of trees, because nowadays the goggles are so much better than were a few years ago. You can see all the branches that would have just come out of nowhere and knocked you out of the air. But flying FPV has a whole new dimension, because being in a wheelchair with, say, flying a fixed wing aircraft with a head tracking camera on it, it gives the operator the ability to turn his head left and right and have the camera respond left and right. So they're not just looking at a static picture. And they can get such a great visual observation of flying like a bird like that. Now they're no longer sitting in that seat anymore. Now they're at the controls of their plane, flying around and enjoying the sky.
You've set them free.
What it does for your synaptic nerve firings and plasticity of your brain, and enhancing your neurologic functions of eye-hand coordination, motor coordination, your muscle training, muscle memory. You're focusing. You're having to concentrate. There's also social interaction that it helps with. There's dozens of different things that it involves, and it just seems to be really unusual for me to think that our medical industry isn't taking full advantage of this. And I'm sure they will soon, but it has to come in-house, unfortunately. A mere peasant like me who didn't have 4 years of medical training, my God, couldn't tell them something they haven't already thought of, because who am I to tell them what to be doing?
Joe, you're going to be the guy who teaches them. That's what it's going to be. You're going to be the guy who teaches them, because you've laid all this groundwork. You broke through the wall. You broke through the window, whatever it took to get here. And if I have anything to do with it, I will tell every healthcare administrator and person of influence to look into your program. I've been on your website today, just looking at the market forecast as I look at this, and it says the UAS ROV industry is growing exponentially as companies discover new uses for drones. The market forecast is that the UAS industry is expected to acquire tens of thousands of operators. And I'm so jazzed that so many could be wounded veterans, because they need that so bad. And you end up by saying Business Insider has it that enterprise drone shipments, also known as commercial drones, will reach 805,000 in 2021. That was a couple of months ago. And that is a 51% increase compared with only 5% growth on the military side. So, you know, what jobs give people is hope. And I am all about hope, helping older people engage. And what I love about your programs, Joe, is they're for any age of wounded veterans and their families. And so now tell us, I'm so jazzed about what you do. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, being the mother of a Marine, the widow of a Navy Brown Shoe Air, and the daughter of an active Navy E5 in World War II. But anyway, back to this. Joe, how does your ART program work, Adaptive Recreational Therapy?
Well, we start them off flying a conventional drone to give them an idea of how the stick controls operate. And to build up their confidence, so to speak. So at least they have a basic understanding. And then we put them on what we call a bash and trash model. And a bash and trash model is just that. It's something that you can bash and trash. It's good for so long, the motors die on you. If you have enough,
an older drone, right?
Well, these aren't really drones anymore. Now these are in the toy category. But what you're getting now is tremendous eye-hand coordination, muscle training, muscle memory, because these things aren't as forgiving as the drone I got them started on. With the original drone, you just go hands-free and the thing will park itself. If you're in a 20-knot wind, it'll park itself.
Wow.
This one, for instance, well, once you throttle up, it's going to go up and it's going to keep going up till you throttle down. Then you got to throttle back up as it's descending to counter its descent. And then you learn how to hover it. Wow. And then we teach them how to just pitch it forward, pitch it back, and just really work to control, because with our solos, they're so easy to fly. You have to really try to crash them. But with the Cyma X5, for instance, you've really got to work the controls. And once you've gotten decent at those, then we move you into the FPV realm, where we put you on, say, an Emax, Tiny Hawk, or a Freestyle, and we get you flying with that to get you started. We start you small, that way you work your way up. You don't put somebody in an 18-wheeler to teach them how to drive. You stick them in a Volkswagen, or you stick them in a little Chevy or Ford or something.
That was my first car, Volkswagen. Yeah. So before I get to what are the benefits, I would really like you to explain to the audience, you now have us basically in the wheelchair seat along with your wounded veteran, and you're teaching them, and you've just told us how you've taken them through these different areas of education. You're preparing them to get a license or a certificate, aren't you? And what is that?
It's called the FAA Part 107, or actually the full name is 14 CFR Part 107 of the FAA code for getting certified as a commercial operator. You have to become a commercial operator to fly, to make any money in this business. Yes. And it's not a difficult test. We help you through taking the online learning management system. We also provide you our flight training guide, which is a little bit more comprehensive to help supplement the online learning experience. Good. And if they have any questions, we're like a help desk for these guys. They can call in to us and ask us questions about what they're studying or what they want to fly, things, and how to get started if they're not local to us. And we help them get that 107 and get them off the ground and give them a hand up into the industry to make their life better, to give them purpose, repurpose them, actually.
So your nonprofit, free of charge to each of the wounded veterans and their families, will not only give all of the education, but you'll help walk them through getting the certification that they need to get a job and have a new life. Is that correct? Yes, correct. All right. Mary, I'd like you to put up the website again of Joe's nonprofit. Everyone who is listening to me, either live or in archive, please go to this website, which is WEUAS.org. WEUAS.org, and donate to this organization. I ask you to do that. I am so behind what Joe and the rest of his nonprofit is doing. Joe, how many states are you in doing this?
Well, we're in Georgia, primarily in Florida, and we have one of our operator trainers in San Diego. We're actually in, around the San Diego area.
Wonderful. And they're enjoying very good drone weather right now. Just want you to know that.
Oh, I'm sure they are. But, I'm in Florida, though, and it's a wonderful state, and it's great being here with the large veteran community and being as friendly as Pensacola is. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy you are. I missed you guys so much, you and your beautiful Corinne. I missed you being in SoCal, but I'm really glad you're there because of the veteran population. It's so important to serve them. And before I ask you what the benefits of adaptive recreational therapy are, I want you to give us a big fat guess of how many drones will be over the Super Bowl this Sunday.
None.
None?
FAA regulations prohibit flying of drones over event areas such as the Rose Bowl or the Super Bowl or any of those any kind of events. And so hopefully nobody does. There might be a knucklehead, but the FAA will tag them and find them, and there'll be problems, and it really isn't worth the problems that you're going to do with paperwork and explaining with attorneys and fees and everything else. It'll get ugly really quick on you. So anybody flying a drone thinking of flying a drone for the Super Bowl, don't do it. It's a bad idea. You're just going to get self-spanked.
Don't do it, dude. But I will say, I'm so jazzed that our military and our veterans will be represented with a flyover. Don't we get about 5? Are they What are the bat wings that they fly over?
Well, that would be the F-117 or one of the newer aircraft like the F-22 or F-35.
Okay.
But the F-117 has been known as the bat.
I love the bat wing. I was actually driving through Holloman Air Force Base with my family years back when they had just de-stealthed the Batwing, and they were doing touch and goes at Holloman. We were taking the kids to see the caves, the famous, Carlsbad Cavern.
Sure.
And so they just were banking over the freeway, and literally people were pulling off, jumping out with their cameras. And one fellow banked right near our van. It was so cool. I still remember seeing his face. It was thrilling. And that's what the opportunities that your organization are giving to wounded veterans. And on your website, you mentioned that these veterans gave the second hardest part of their life. The ultimate sacrifice is death, but you call this the second ultimate sacrifice, and that's being wounded for their country and all of us who live in freedom because of what our veterans have done for us.
We can't repay them for the incredible feats that they've done, that they've committed themselves to, and what they've now had to endure.
That's right.
Some of my guys, one gentleman named Josh, he's a paraplegic skier from the 2018 Seoul Games.
Wow.
About both of his legs, above the knee, part of his hand and stuff. And teaching him how to fly was really the turning point for me. And I've had a few other guys like that who are wheelchair bound, and you can't help but have your heart go out to them and do everything you can to see that they excel and achieve greatness in their lives.
Well, please receive my thanks and all of my audience and everyone who will hear this over the years. Thank you, Joe, so much. Air Boss. Now, back to the questions. Number 3, what are the benefits of ART?
Well, the benefits of adaptive recreational therapy is you can pretty much fly anywhere in what we call Class G airspace or unrestricted airspace.
Okay.
Or you can get, once you've gone through our course, we teach you how to get what's called a LAANC, a low altitude authorization, notification, communication. Fancy FAA word. They could have come up with something a little more, something that rolls off the tongue a little easier, but we call it LAANC. Anyway, so to make a long story boring, you have the opportunity of flying anything of a dozen different styles of aircraft, from large to small, in a variety of different environments. California was really nice because you have the mountains, you have the deserts, you've got the oceans.
Yes.
If you're 5 miles away from an airport, you're generally in your in Class G area. And so you can fly up to 400 feet and just be able to tour around and have fun like that, collecting amazing cinematography when you have a super bloom going in Lancaster. But all of this makes you a better pilot, because the more time you are behind the sticks, the better pilot you become.
Yes.
And after a while, you're going to think to yourself, why don't I, exploit this talent of mine and, get that 107, fly commercially, and, have your job be something that you enjoy so much that it's not a job anymore. It's something you look forward to and that you're excited to. You'll immerse yourself into the field. You'll become highly knowledgeable. And most of the people in the UAS industry are veterans. Yes. Because veterans are pretty much the ones who are coming back from the theater with the experience of flying, say, a Talon or some of the hand-launched drones, rather than some of the more bigger stuff, like the Predator or stuff like that, where they're flying it out of a Connex box out of Nellis Air Force Base.
Wow.
Not quite the same, but when you learn how to fly a drone, you're opening yourself to a lot of potential, and just being able to capture moments that you could only capture from the air, and having that bird's eye view is just such a thrill.
I can imagine how not just the thrill of the air show that you're getting, but knowing you're going to be paid and paid well, because the applications of what you're teaching them is now opening up all over the world to things. And my question is, do you see many of your current students or past students want to fly for the military again, or are they just really looking for commercial application?
Well, some of the guys I've worked with or trained were security personnel as contractors.
Okay.
And what their employers wanted them to be able to do is fly in tight and close to objects of interest, shall we say. Say there's a strange mound over out on a perimeter that wasn't there the day before It's really nice to send a drone out there and do some nose into orbits and fully identify everything around it without having to get anywhere near it.
Yes.
And with the drone, you can do that, but it takes practice. It takes a lot of experience. Well, not a lot of experience. It takes a fair amount of experience, but you'll get that confidence. And once you have that, you'll know what to do about how to bank it and how to rudder it to be able to get that orbit really nice so that you can look all around, look down at it, look all sides, and be able to identify if it's an anomaly worth sending something heavier out after.
Yes. Yes. Well, then our last question today is, what is the experience like specific to adaptive recreational therapy? Therapy.
It's very immersive. It's because unlike a simulator game where you're flying around a course that's all digital, you're in real world. You're actually you can go to a dozen different places and fly and gain your experience, but also the enjoyment of flying through there like a bird or like a hawk in some cases, because some of these little things will do 100 miles an hour and turn on a dime. It's just phenomenal. And with the new cameras we have, which are now getting up to HD quality, like 720 and 1080p quality screen that you're looking at as you're flying, you forget that you're sitting on the ground, because now you're starting to rock with the moment of the aircraft, even though you're just sitting stationary behind a desk or a bench or something. But it's just a phenomenal experience, and it makes you feel alive. It gives you a thrill. It's something that really stimulates you, and it gets the blood pumping really, really rapidly, to the point where sometimes you're so much adrenaline going through, your thumbs are bouncing on the sticks. That's why I teach people to pinch their sticks. You'll get better control. You have that resistance of the other finger on there rather than resting your thumbs, because you'll come dislodged from the sticks more than likely. And you don't want to disconnect from the sticks. You always have to stay connected to your sticks. That's just how you fly. You just don't let go of the steering wheel when you're driving.
Well, a question pops up into my mind, because you've actually brought drones to my backyard studio for my for my nonprofit Season of Life videos, and you've let me hold the drones. You've let me see through the goggles. You let me do the sticks. Everyone, this is fascinating stuff. This is something that I encourage you, if you could ever do it, pay for it, because it is a wonderful sensory experience, and you can see how jobs in this field would pay well. But now, Joe, a lot of us read adventure things, and we've heard that there are drones as big as a beetle.
Oh, yes.
Do you train the men and women that you train on drones that size? Or what is your usual size of drones? Can you give us a visual?
Well, the smallest ones we operate are 65 millimeters, which is basically about that big.
Okay.
And they expand up to, well, I don't know if you can see that.
It's bigger, yes.
But you find that the real racers are using 5 inches, because they're extremely nimble, and they're easy to keep, to repair. They're easy to build. If you can solder, that's even better, because now you have really a great wiring job where you don't have to worry about cable management or anything like that. But you are going to get most of your thrill out of that 4-inch or 5-inch racer. People are using little larger ones for racing, because when it comes to racing, it's hard to see the little 5-inch thing ripping through all the obstacles and the gates. But if you have a 450 or a 550, which is considerably bigger, then you see more of the lights, and so it's easier for them to track it as they're going through. Or if they're wearing goggles, they can watch and see exactly what the pilot is seeing as they're navigating through the gates and the courses, or doing barrel rolls or dives and things like that. You can do so many incredible things with drones, and it really boils down to 10% knowledge and 90% confidence. The 10% knowledge is keeping yourself out of trouble, so you can show that you have superior air knowledge and not have to demonstrate your superior air capability. You don't want to show how good of a pilot you are. You just want to show how smart of a pilot you are.
Right.
Staying out of trouble shows how smart you are.
Oh, that's a good saying for life. Staying out of trouble shows how smart you are. Oh, Mary, write that down and put it up. We need to capture that. We need to paste that above, every place where we stare at, under our computer screens or over our bathroom mirrors. Wow.
Yeah, you don't want to show off. Just build people's
get the job done and get paid. That's right. And do a good job doing it, so you'll get the next job. That's fantastic. Precisely. That is. Well, Joe, I know yes, there we go. Staying out of trouble shows how smart you are. Well, we're coming to the end of the show. I want you to know this has been so educational again. And I've gotten to talk with you probably 6 times, and I'm still learning from you, which I totally appreciate.
My
Everyone,
pleasure.
again, I would really like you to go to his website, which is WEAUS.
No,
Is that it?
UAS, Unmanned Aerial Systems.
Okay, WEUAS.org. There it is. Thanks, Mary. WEUAS.org. I'd like you to learn more about Joe. I think the kindest thing you could do besides donating to this organization is call your friends and family members who have wounded family members who are veterans and get them in touch with Joe, the Air Boss, on his website. What a good thing to do with our time, everyone. And that is to support our wounded veterans. I thank you again, Joe, from the bottom of my heart for what you do. Everyone, his email is up there right in front of you, joe.durando@weuas.org. He has given a phone number, which is 626-807-0428. And I know that he will, if you leave a message, he'll call you back because he's a really good guy, everyone. So, Joe, thank you for what you do. Please give Corinne a big hug for us. A very happy Valentine's Day. Everyone who's watching, today is February the 9th, 2022. And we just want you, everyone, to know that this is a very worthy cause. I thank you. I know I'm trying to end this again. Go to, here we go, successinaging.com. Order a box for yourself or your loved ones. And especially if you have a veteran in your life, I would encourage you to send one of these in the mail to them. They'll be delighted. And there are wonderful products in here to help. So thank you, Joe Dorando. Mary, do you have anything else you want to say to us?
No, you wrapped up the show lovely. And again, thank you for everybody who is listening live and watching on the replay. And we look forward to seeing you next week at 2:30, Wednesdays, 2:30 p.m. Pacific time for another edition of the Success in Aging Show. Joe, thanks so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
You're welcome. Many blessings.
Talk to you again soon.
All right.